Hello, my name is Hannah McAdams, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about what an automatic spelling lesson looks like. So you may have seen some of my other videos, but this is just going to focus mainly on the parts of the lesson. This is my daughter and me. This program was written for her. She could not remember the spelling of very easy words after many, many years of studying them, especially when she was writing something. And it was causing problems in her writing because she has a lot to say, but she just didn't have the spelling of the words to say it, and it would bother her. And she'd get stuck on the spelling of a word that she knew she should know how to spell. And so she would work really hard to try to figure out how to spell that word, and then by the time she figured it out, she had lost her train of thought. And this was happening over and over and over again, and I thought, we've got to come up with a better system. So I created automatic spelling for her, and I have about 50 beta testers that are trying the program, and I thought I would show you today how it works. Here are the parts of the lesson. There is a page that just kind of shows you how to do the lesson, and basically there are 7 words, and you'll see in the grid in the new words section. I'll blow this up so you can see it better, but you give them a pre-test and they see what they can spell of the new words, and then we talk about what phonograms they use, if they're following any spelling rules, and any other little, sometimes some grammatical issues to go through, if there's a homophone for it, things like that. That's what the lesson is. You do have a written lesson, but I have also provided for you a similar lesson in video form, so you can use that instead. Okay, so this is the video section. I have, they had just learned how to spell where, which means to put something on. They've already learned where the location, and so they're talking about the difference here. So that's what a video kind of looks like. All right. Okay, so the first thing that you do is give a pretest, and the pretest is new words. Okay, and so you will say up, and they write up, and then you say on, and they write on, and then you say where to put something on, and then they will write where. Sometimes they may or may not get it right. It does stress out some students to do a pretest, so my advice for those that really get stressed out is just to skip that and go right into the lesson. But it is nice for them to see where they're making their mistakes. So if they can handle that, then do the pretest. If they can't, skip it. That's okay. All right. And then we have challenge words. So the challenge words are a list of words that you have kept that have previously misspelled words on the grid. We'll talk about what the grid is later, but I circled this beautiful. So maybe in the last lesson, beautiful was a difficult word for them to spell, and they spelled it incorrectly. So there is a list. It's not here in this paper. You keep it by yourself, but you just write down anything that they've missed in the grid, and we'll talk about that. That's at the very end of the lesson. And then at the beginning of the lesson, you go over the words that they've previously missed. So that's a challenge words. Okay, and then we have a mini lesson. Like I said, that can be a video, or you can use the paper. I have found that the video is actually a little more clear, because like sometimes when it teaches, when you change a Y to an I and then add a suffix, you can see on the video, I change the color of the Y, and then I change it to an I, and then it's just a very nice visual way to see what you're doing. So I really like the videos for that reason. I really don't like technology that much. You wouldn't believe it, the way that I make videos like every day, but I think that it's nice to kind of have a hybrid and have somebody that is explaining all of these things to your child, so you don't have to be the bad guy, especially if they're carrying a stigma that spelling is bad and hard and not possible for them. It's nice to put that on my shoulders. Now I'll say that I don't get that luxury with my own students. My children do not particularly like hearing things from me in my voice, but I have heard from everybody else that they appreciate outsourcing that. But you certainly don't have to. There is a paper mini lesson that you may use. Okay, this is the grid. The grid is made up of 60 words, so there are 6 columns and 10 rows, and this is your copy, the teacher's copy. You read the words, and then they write in a blank grid or just on a piece of paper if they'd rather what you say. So here you'll say the present tense of to read, read. Okay, and then they will write read. And then you say me, beautiful, to say farewell, bye. They only have to write bye instead of to say farewell. And they learn these with the definitions, especially for words that have homophones. And sometimes I do contractions and some other things, but it's really helpful for them to know, okay, this were is a being verb. To put something on is where. That's helpful, I think. Everybody really likes that part of it. So the grid does take a while. It's the heart of the lesson. Well, let me go to the next slide here. So why do we use a grid instead of a list? Well, so the new words, there's only 7, sometimes 8 new words at a time, instead of memorizing 20 words in a week. That gets very overwhelming. I know you look at this and you think, okay, but there's 60 words, Hannah, in this list. Yes, but what I do is I take the 7 new words and I put them 3 times into the grid in a random order. All the rest of the words are review from previous lessons. So they don't have that many new words to focus on, and most students after 3 or 4 grids have mastered the other words. So it actually goes very quickly. My advice is for students that get overwhelmed by that, maybe just start off with 30 words. So do half of it, and then the next day do the next half. The slow and steady wins the race, so don't worry about trying to get through everything. Students start seeing results in about 6 or 7 lessons. They will still start gaining some confidence, even if you have to just do 30 at a time. But I would really recommend that if you have a 2nd grader, 3rd grader or above, that you try to work up to 60 words a day. Now, when I do it with my students, I have 2. I have a 5th grader and a 3rd grader, and we do it together. And they have this habit of talking between every word, so it takes us a good 25 minutes to do it. But I have other students that do it by themselves, and they like to do it as quickly as possible, and so it only takes them 10 or 15. So it just sort of depends on if your student is willing to buckle down and get it finished. Okay, then we have dictation and editing. Editing doesn't come until, I think, lesson 38 out of 48, so there's not a whole lot of editing, but dictation starts, I think, at week 7. So the dictation is at the bottom of the page. I know it's a little blurry, but it says, I said, what do I wear? So you read that, and they are learning to put a comma after said, put the words in quotation marks, and a lot of times I use homophones, so they have to figure out which homophone to use. Okay, and then if you've missed a word, you copy that, obviously spelled correctly, onto the challenge list. So where has been a really one that a lot of students have struggled with, to put something on where. So I circled that one, but you just copy that onto your challenge list, which is just a separate piece of paper that you keep a record of the words that you're missing. And the way that I do that is I have them write the words, or I have them practice the words. If they can spell them correctly 5 spelling sessions in a row, well, actually just 5 spelling sessions, so you just put a check mark if they get it right, then they have tested out of that word. Okay, and then we have unit reviews and incentives. So this is my daughter. She just finished automatic spelling this week, and she finished her robot. So every 8 lessons is a review. There's a review lesson after every 8 lessons. And that is a grid of all 60 words that they've learned in those lessons. And if they pass that, then they earn their robot body parts. The first one, after the first unit, they get a robot head, and then they get their body, and then they get one arm, and then another, and so on. And that's been pretty popular. Everybody really likes that. Okay, so a little bit more about automatic spelling. There are 48 lessons. Each lesson can take 1 day or 2 days. If you choose to do 1 day, then you just do lesson B. Lesson B has a lot of homophones and compound words and extra things that are a little harder. If you want to do 2 days for a lesson, then you do lesson A the first day and lesson B the second day. Lesson A is not supposed to have any suffixes for the new words. There's suffixes for the old words that they've reviewed, but for any new words, there shouldn't be any suffixes in lesson A. Okay, so it just kind of depends on your child and how they're doing. I kind of go back and forth. If I feel like, okay, they understand these words, then we'll just go on. We'll just do lesson B and then go on. But there have been days that I've thought, okay, we need to do both A and B. So the way that might work is you might be on lesson 9. So if you choose to do the 2-day schedule, then you would do lesson 9A on Monday, lesson 9B on Tuesday, lesson 10A on Wednesday, and so on. If you choose just to do 1 day per lesson, then you would do lesson 9B on Monday, and then lesson 10B on Tuesday, and so on. Most of my students do spelling 3 to 4 days a week, but you can do it, I mean, it's up to you what you want to do. You could do it every day, even on the weekends if you wanted. So that's kind of up to you. Okay, there are 360, probably a little bit more than that, root words that we learn to spell. And they are, people have asked, well, where did you come up with these words? So they are frequently misspelled words. I do a lot with homophone groups. I didn't say pairs because we have several that have 3 homophones in them. I also consulted Dolch and Fry word lists and a lot of other reasons. Sometimes I would pick a word because I wanted students to focus on a certain phonogram, like EW is kind of a hard one for people to remember, so I picked some words that have EW phonograms in them. Sometimes I picked a word, like the word hero I picked because I wanted to show that if an English word ends in O, then to make it plural, you add ES. So that I just picked that because that demonstrated that rule. So there are I have a reason for most words, but there's a lot of different reasons. It took me probably 3 months to have a list of words that I really thought was the good for this level. I do have some ideas for an automatic spelling 2, but I have not, or level 2, but I have not started that yet. Okay, so like I said, there are 360 root words that we spell, and then we also do lots and lots and lots of work with suffixes. So we have lots of derivatives from words. So if you see where it says many derivatives, we have the word wonder, and then they learn to spell wondered, wonderful, wonderfully, wonders, and wondering. So, and I do that with almost every word that could have a derivative. I don't even have an answer to how many different words are on the spelling grids because there's so many. My guess is there's probably at least 200 more words when you include the derivatives. So maybe about 600 words total. Okay, so, and that's, again, that's an estimate. If you look at this picture, this amazing picture was made by Mandy Freshour, who is a graphic designer who's been working with me through this whole process. And this is a suffix flow chart. So you write the base word where it says base word on that line, and then the suffix is on that little crane thing. And then you have to ask a series of questions to figure out whether you change a Y to an I, or drop a silent E, or double a consonant before adding the suffix. So this is really helpful. I allow my students to have this chart on the table while they're doing their work. So they have to know how to spell the root word, and then they can use the suffix chart to spell the derivative. And that has been very helpful. It's very popular, and I just really love what Mandy did with this. Okay, and here are a couple testimonies. We just completed Lesson 6B, and though this curriculum is blessing us in so many ways, the thing that strikes me most profoundly is how quickly he's self-correcting without any intervention from me. It's like he's seeing it for the first time. I'm not going to lie, I was totally dragging my feet about starting this. Spelling has been a nightmare, and we've literally tried all the things. The amount of bank we have invested in spelling curricula is breathtaking. After his lesson today, 4A, moving along slowly, he scored a 100% on the post test. I said, "Wow, I love that you're obviously learning, and you don't hate this." His response was, "I love this." Then he cracked up when I accidentally spit coffee all over from utter shock. So I love that story. And then the picture is, this is my son, I told him to write give, or spell give with letter tiles, and he ended up spelling veggie straws. I don't know, it's kind of silly. Here's another one. My son is writing his IEW drafts. That's Institute for Excellence in Writing. It's a writing curriculum. My son is writing his IEW drafts independently without complaint now. I can hear him spelling words out loud as he writes, like how we do his spelling tests. Do you think that automatic spelling might be right for your child? I hope so. If I can help in any way, let me know. Just feel free to contact me. Like I said, automatic spelling is almost ready to be on the market, and I'm very excited for the results that I have seen with so many students. It's really changing the dynamic of their spelling time.